That afternoon, he stopped by his old house just to grab a few documents he'd left behind. But the moment he stepped out of the car, he froze. A couple of strangers were at the front door, his door casually unloading boxes. One of them smiled politely. "We just got the keys this morning. You must be the previous owner." He didn't answer, just quietly pulled out his phone and called his mother. She picked up, her voice hesitant. "Oh, I meant to tell you. Your dad and I sold the house. Your sister needed capital for her business. We didn't have another option." He didn't yell, he didn't argue. He just fell silent, the kind of silence that only comes from betrayal too deep for words. He had tried to reason, sat down, spoke gently. But when your words are no longer heard, sometimes the law has to speak for you. "If it's not returned," he said coldly, "I'll see you in court." He wasn't born into wealth, but from a young age, he learned how to be independent, juggling school part-time jobs, saving every cent he could while chasing a future he had to build on his own. By 25, after nearly 8 years of hustling, freelancing, selling online, and investing in small projects, he finally bought his first home, a modest place worth $280,000. It wasn't just real estate. It was everything he had worked for. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night. But because he was still young and his startup income wasn't stable, he couldn't qualify for a mortgage on his own. So he did what most would do in his shoes. He asked his parents to hold the title. It felt reasonable at the time. He lived there. He paid the mortgage. He called it home. What he didn't know was that the very trust he placed in them would one day be used to take it all away. One afternoon, with no warning, he learned the house had been sold. No heads up, no conversation, just one cold explanation. "Your sister needed money to start her beauty brand. We did this for the family." He stood on the sidewalk, phone still in hand, as silence replaced the sound of his heartbeat. He didn't want much, just respect, a question, a conversation. But when even that was too much to ask, there was only one thing left to do: walk away and fight for justice, even if it meant standing against the people who raised him. He wasn't the type to cause trouble in the family. Since he was a kid, he had learned to be the one who understands, the one who gives in, carries more, and never complains. The eldest son, the responsible one, the one expected to just deal with it. He never blamed his parents for the mornings he skipped breakfast so his sister could have new school books. He didn't protest when his holiday bonus was used to redecorate her room instead of his. He always told himself that's just what older brothers do. But this was different. That house wasn't just a roof and walls. It was his sweat, his loneliness, his late nights working 2 jobs, his entire youth compressed into a place he built with everything he had. He hadn't asked for help. "Only one thing, hold the title for me just until I'm eligible." Instead, that trust, that one signature, became the knife that cut through everything he thought they shared. He wasn't angry about losing the house. He was heartbroken that his trust was used as leverage. When he asked them why, the answer stunned him. "You're still young. You can stay somewhere for now. Your sister needs this to start her career. She deserves the chance." In their eyes, his years of sacrifice were just expected. His sister's dream, that was what truly mattered. When he said he was hurt, they called him selfish. When he finally spoke up, they accused him of tearing the family apart. Every word, every feeling, dismissed as petty, as drama, as wrong. And that's when it hit him. He hadn't just lost a house. He was slowly losing his place in the very family he thought he belonged to. He didn't scream. He didn't slam doors or demand a family meeting. Instead, he stayed silent. Not because it didn't hurt, but because the pain ran too deep to put into words. When he found out that his parents had sold the home he spent his entire youth working for, with just a quiet signature to fund his sister's business, he didn't lash out. He simply walked into his room, packed a small bag, and sent one short message: "I'll stay at Ethan's for a few days. I need time to clear my head." No one stopped him. No one asked if he was okay. Just a few indifferent nods, as if he didn't even have the right to be upset. That evening, he still came back for dinner. Not because he had forgiven them, but because that's what he'd done for 27 years, come home even when his heart was in pieces. At the table, his sister laughed. "You're still mad about the house I didn't ask them to sell it, okay?" It was Mom and Dad's call. "Once I turn a profit, I'll pay you back double." His mother added breezily, "Your sister's young. Opportunities like this don't come twice. You've got skills, you can bounce back anytime." He didn't respond, just lowered his head and ate in silence. But inside, something had fractured quietly, irreparably. A few days later, he sat the family down for a talk. He didn't accuse anyone. He didn't yell. He just said, I'm not asking you to return the house. I'm asking to be treated with respect as the person who paid for it. Selling it without even asking me, even if it was under your name, was wrong." His father sighed and muttered, "What's done is done. Why cling to a few dollars?" His mother gave a sharp laugh. "So now you're the victim. Business is no place for sensitivity?" His sister didn't even look up from her phone. "Wow, really, you're acting like this over a house? We're family. Chill." He wasn't shocked by their words, but by how easily they said them. That night, he couldn't sleep. Not because he missed the money, but because for the first time in his life, he realized he didn't belong in this family anymore. Every time he tried to speak, his voice was dismissed as annoying, dramatic, unnecessary. And when a home no longer holds room for your dignity, it stops being home. The next morning, he got to work, printed every bank statement, every mortgage receipt, every message between him and his father, discussing the name on the deed. Sorted, stapled, packed. 1 week later, he sat across from a lawyer. The elderly man reviewed the stack of documents, then looked up. "Legally, the house isn't in your name, but if you can prove the money was yours and the sale happened without your consent, you may have a case." He nodded. "I don't want to go to court, but I can't let them take my effort and mock me for working hard." That night, he tried one last time. No documents, no arguments, just one honest conversation. He sat beside his mother, waited until she was folding laundry, and asked quietly, "Mom, if I took your daughter's savings without asking and said it was because I thought she needed it, would you be upset?" She froze. A flicker of guilt crossed her face, then vanished. She sighed without turning to him. "You can't compare like that. Everyone's situation is different. That house, it wasn't just yours." He said nothing. He didn't need to, because he finally had his answer. When you have to argue for your right to be respected in your own family, it's not home anymore. Her words weren't a denial. They were confirmation. In this family, his hard work was worth less than his sister's dreams. And in that moment, he knew he didn't need another conversation. He needed closure. 3 days later, he placed a thick folder on the dinner table, printed documents, transaction records, and a formal notice from his attorney. No shouting, no accusations, just a quiet voice. "I'm still your son, but if none of my words are being heard, then I'll let the law speak for me." 3 days later, the family sat around the dinner table. His mother made chicken soup his favorite, as if nothing had ever happened. His sister scrolled through her phone, giggling occasionally at livestream comments. His father, as usual, buried behind a newspaper. He placed a folder beside his bowl. No one noticed until he spoke calm but firm. "I filed a motion for the court to review the property ownership. In this folder is every financial record, bank statements, mortgage receipts, even the messages between me and Dad when I asked to use his name on the title because I didn't qualify for the loan." Silence. 1 second. 2. His mother slowly put down her spoon. His sister glanced up. His father folded the paper. Still no one said anything, but the quiet was suffocating. Then came his father's bitter laugh. "Court. You're dragging your own family to court." He looked him straight in the eye. "Because this family doesn't see me as the person who paid for it. Just the son whose efforts are free to be used, no questions asked." His mother snapped. "You're really blowing this out of proportion. We told you it was a shared house. We sold it for your sister's future. Don't be selfish." His hands clenched under the table. "You call it a shared house, but I paid for it. I lived there. I made the monthly payments. If it was truly shared, why didn't anyone ask before selling it?" His mother glared. "Because you overthink everything, always turning little things into drama. We kept it from you so we wouldn't have to hear your whining." That last line, not just the words, but the tone, cut deeper than anything else. His sister burst out laughing. "Oh my God, are we starring in a soap opera now? It's not that deep. You're being way too dramatic." He turned to her. She was dressed perfectly like the launch day photos of her brand. "You knew the house was mine, didn't you?" She shrugged. "You lived there? Why does it matter whose name's on it?" "It was under Mom and Dad's name. Now they're helping me. What's the problem?" He went still. Then she tilted her head, gave a smug little smile. "I mean, you're the big brother. Isn't helping me the right thing to do?" The room fell into a thick, cold silence. He nodded slowly, then stood gently, pulling the folder back toward himself. "Now I understand. To all of you, I'm just a silent money machine, the older brother who's supposed to give everything and never ask for anything back." His father slammed the newspaper down. "Still preaching, huh? We raised you, fed. You gave you everything, and now you turn around and sue us." He turned to him, voice steady, words sharp. Raised me with what dad in high school, I delivered food at night to afford art classes. In college, I worked every break, never asked you for a cent. This house was the first thing I bought myself. Didn't borrow, didn't beg. Just asked you to hold the name, and even that got taken. His mother slapped her hand on the table. You live your life with so much distrust that even your own parents can't keep your faith. He quietly gathered the folder, placing it back into his bag. I trusted you, but trust, Mom, isn't something everyone can be trusted to hold. He turned and walked toward the door. No one followed. No one called after him. Only his sister muttered under her breath, "Geez, it's not like anyone owes you." He paused in the doorway, glanced back one last time. No one owes me anything, but from now on, no one gets to take anything from me without asking. The lawsuit was officially filed. The first hearing was set for 3 weeks later. His lawyer warned him legally the house wasn't in his name. Winning wouldn't be easy, but winning wasn't what kept him going. It was principle. A man can be poor, a man can lose, but no one should be forced to live like their worth is something others get to use without asking. The first week, his family didn't contact him at all. On day 8, a single text from his mother. "So, are you happy now?" He read it, deleted it, didn't reply. Not because he hated them, but because you can't talk to people who refuse to listen. His first morning in the rented room felt both empty and liberating. Spotty Wi-Fi, a lagging laptop, a mouse with a broken right click. Still, he opened his design software. Every line that appeared on the screen felt like rebuilding himself, slowly but steadily. He emailed old clients, updated his bank info, followed up on pending jobs. Some replied, some didn't. A week later, his first order came in a small logo design for a neighborhood coffee shop. Nothing big, but to him it meant everything. A beginning, earned with his own hands under no one's name but his. At night, he started streaming games again. Not for money, but because it was the one place he still felt whole amidst a life turned upside down. At first, just a handful of viewers, but slowly messages started pouring in. "You're the first person I've seen who took their parents to court and didn't apologize for it. They took my savings to send my brother to college. Your story made me realize I wasn't wrong." And that's when he realized there were more people like him than he'd ever imagined. One night, Ethan asked, "Do you regret it? I mean, it's still your parents, your sister." He didn't answer right away, just stared out the window, the only spot in his room that caught the light. "I don't regret losing the house. I can buy another. I regret believing that if I just kept giving, everything would turn out fine." He paused, then added, "Turns out, Kaz, with some people, the more you step back, the more they step on you." On the day of the hearing, he walked in alone. No suit, no pretense. Just a man bringing his entire youth to the table to prove a house isn't just bricks, but years of a life built from scratch. His parents sat across from him, eyes filled with anger and disappointment. His sister, silent, hidden behind sunglasses, eyes glued to her phone. Their lawyer made all the usual arguments. The house was in their name, the sale was legal. He had just asked for a favor, no binding claim. But he brought receipts, bank transfers, mortgage logs, message threads, and above all, a calm mind. No spite, no vengeance, just one truth. "I didn't file this to get the house back. I filed it because I can't keep pretending like what happened was okay." He didn't know if the court would rule in his favor. But as he stepped outside the courtroom, he felt lighter, because for the first time he had stood for himself. No yelling, no blaming, just a man who chose not to stay silent anymore. And sometimes that's all it takes to start over. A few weeks after the first hearing, he got a text from his father. "Come home for dinner. Your mom made your favorite." No apology, no mention of court, just a single line as if everything could return to normal if he simply walked through the door. He read it, stayed silent. The next day he went, not because he gave in, but because he needed closure. The house looked the same, but it no longer felt like home. Everyone was already seated. His mom offered a forced smile. His dad poured tea in silence. His sister scrolled through her phone, laughing at something on her screen. The dish was one he used to love, but tonight, he had no appetite. His mom spoke first gently but without true sincerity. "It's over now, son. We all did what we thought was best for the family. You made such a big deal people might think we're broken." He looked at her, voice low and dry. "The world outside may not know, but when your own home stops seeing you as a person, does it matter what anyone else thinks?" His father set his cup down firmer this time. "You're going too far. We're family. How could you take your parents to court?" He didn't respond, just reached into his bag and placed a printed sheet on the table. a detailed log of 8 years of payments, loan statements, and maintenance costs. I'm not doing this to win anything. I'm doing it so I don't keep getting treated like I'm nothing. Silence hung heavy. Finally, his sister glanced up, annoyed. How long are you going to drag this out? I'm exhausted. Just say what you want already. He looked at her, not angry, just done. I don't want anything. From now on, I just want to live as someone who owns what he builds and has the right to say no when someone tries to take it. He stood, pushed his chair in. I'm leaving. Don't worry about dinner next time. I don't think there will be one. His mom's voice trembled. So you're giving up on us over a house? He paused at the door, turned slightly. It's not about a house. It's about the fact that I no longer feel like I belong here. No one stopped him. No one asked him to stay. Just the soft click of the door closing the final punctuation to a life he used to call his. And beyond that door, a new life. One where he no longer needed permission to be who he was. The court hadn't ruled yet, but deep down he knew the most important victory had already been won. He had chosen to stand for himself. 1 year passed. The old rental room was gone, replaced by a small, sunlit workspace, the humble headquarters of the company he had built from scratch. No flashy signs, no big staff. Just him, a long wooden table, a few freelance collaborators, and a growing list of contracts. He no longer worked to prove anything to anyone. Every day he showed up for one reason, because this was the life he chose for himself. The rental debts were paid. His savings were growing. He was about to move into a new apartment smaller than the old house, but this one had his name on the deed. As for his family, he didn't know much, but now and then word trickled in. His sister's cosmetics brand collapsed within 7 months. Too much unsold inventory. Marketing campaigns that flopped. Even a few customer complaints about poor product quality. His parents sold their car to cover debts. The new house they had bought, now mortgaged again. Someone once asked him, "Do you feel satisfied seeing them fail?" He shook his head. "No, I'm not happy they failed. I'm just relieved I got out in time." That night, sitting alone by the window of his new place, cool air drifting in, he pulled out an old folder. The court files, the lawsuit documents, faded bank statements. The edges of the papers had yellowed. He gathered them, tucked them into a box, and labeled it closed. Not because he had forgotten, but because he had forgiven not them but himself. He no longer needed an apology. He just needed a life where he didn't have to wait for anyone's permission to live by his own values. And finally he had it. One late evening, after replying to his last email of the day, he sat alone in his workspace. No noise, no deadlines, no one reminding him what he owed, what he lacked, or what he should have done differently. Just him, the soft glow of his desk lamp, and the familiar playlist he used to put on during long nights designing. His eyes wandered to the bookshelf. There, tucked between some old sketchbooks, was a photo frame, a family picture taken the day they got the house. Everyone was smiling, so was he. But now looking at it, he realized, not all smiles are real. Some exist only because we need to believe things are okay. He didn't hate them, but he wasn't going back either. Because some wounds don't need revenge, they just need distance. You don't stick your hand back into a fire you've already burned it in. A friend once asked him, if you could go back, would you still ask them to put the house in their name? He smiled. Yes. Because trusting them wasn't my mistake. The mistake was letting that trust keep going long after it stopped being returned. Then, looking his friend in the eyes, or maybe speaking more to himself, he said, I didn't lose a house, I lost trust, and now I'm rebuilding from scratch. Not with money, not through wins or losses, but through one quiet, powerful decision to choose himself, even when no one else would. Because in the end, real freedom doesn't come from being held onto. It comes from the moment you choose to walk away and never need to look back. You can love your family with all your heart, but no one has the right to use that love to diminish your worth. Being independent isn't just about making money. Sometimes it means having the courage to walk away when your trust is traded for someone else's convenience. Because sometimes it's not the storm that breaks us, but the quiet, repeated betrayals we were taught to endure in silence. You can forgive, but you're not obligated to return. You can love, but you also have the right to walk away when that love makes you feel small in your own home. Some wounds never fully heal, but here's the miracle: you can still live, still laugh, still build a beautiful life without carrying those wounds forever. So take the step, even if it's quiet, even if it's painful. Because you deserve a life where you don't need permission just to be yourself.